You think today's AI world was built by the companies you see every day. But the truth is, the most important part of your digital life was shaped by a giant that everyone forgot. IBM didn't just predict the future, it quietly coded the rules you still follow without knowing. And the moment the world stopped paying attention, the system it created kept running your life anyway. And once you see IBM's hidden influence, you'll realize you were never really choosing anything at all. You live in a world powered by artificial intelligence, yet the story you've been told starts in the wrong place. People point to Google, OpenAI, or Apple as the leaders. But the real beginning lies decades before them. Inside a company the world quietly pushed into the background, IBM wasn't just early to AI. It was the first to treat intelligence as a system, not a machine. Before anyone talked about algorithms, IBM was designing ways for computers to learn, store memory, and reason. The building blocks of your entire digital life were built by a giant almost everyone has forgotten. But here's the part you feel deep inside. You didn't grow up hearing about IBM shaping your world. You grew up hearing about the companies that came later, the ones who turned intelligence into profit, platforms, and power. You feel like the future moves too fast for you to keep up. IBM felt that same pressure in the 80s, watching the world race ahead, even though it quietly built the intelligence everyone else now uses. Your fear of being too late isn't incompetence. It's history repeating itself. Because what IBM built didn't disappear. It simply slipped into the hands of those who could monetize it faster. Decades before AI became a buzzword, IBM was building something no one else even understood. In the 1950s, while most companies were still trying to make computers add numbers faster, IBM created a system called machine reasoning, a primitive but revolutionary idea. Computers shouldn't just calculate, they should think. And here's the twist. Everything you know about modern AI sits directly on top of those early IBM foundations. IBM built the first neural network test systems. IBM built the first programs that learned from mistakes. IBM trained early computers to solve complex logic problems, the core of every modern AI model you use today. But that's just the technical story. The emotional story is far more powerful. You constantly feel like you're chasing technology that already knows more than you. IBM felt that same fear in the 1980s, watching its own creations evolve faster than the company could monetize them. Imagine building the blueprint for a revolution, then watching others become famous for it. The emotional truth is this: you're not behind because you're slow. You're behind because the system was designed to move without you. A pattern IBM itself experienced when the world shifted towards software, data, and platforms. And that pain, being early but forgotten, shaped IBM's next move. It doubled down on systems that quietly control everything while staying out of the spotlight. IBM stopped chasing the spotlight and started shaping the invisible infrastructure of the digital world, the part you never see but rely on every single day. And that decision created the hidden empire that still influences today's AI giants without ever appearing on the stage. By the 1990s, something unsettling began to happen. The world moved away from the physical machines IBM dominated, and towards software, platforms, and data, the very things IBM helped invent but failed to claim. And this is where IBM's story becomes a mirror of your own life. You do the hard work. Someone else gets the credit. IBM built the foundation. Someone else built the empire. As Google, Amazon, Apple, and later the modern AI labs rose, they fed on a resource IBM didn't fully control: data. Not intelligence itself. IBM had that. But the fuel that made intelligence powerful. You know the feeling of being left behind even after doing everything right? IBM watched companies with less history, less expertise, and far less engineering power win the public's attention simply because they understood the psychology of platforms. Not just the technology of intelligence. But this wasn't incompetence. IBM wasn't slow. The world changed its rules overnight. And you've lived through the same shift, where effort doesn't beat visibility, and quality doesn't beat scale. As the internet exploded, IBM realized its biggest threat wasn't other companies. It was forgetting. The world forgetting the pioneer that built the system, the insights, the architecture, everything. And here's the fear you're not supposed to feel. Even if you create something powerful, the world can move on without you. That's the trap IBM fell into. And the same trap AI pushes onto all of us. IBM's quiet decline in the spotlight made everyone assume the story was over. But that's the mistake the world always makes. When a giant steps out of the light, they think it has fallen, not realizing it simply moved into a place where its influence grows without being seen. Because IBM didn't quit the intelligence race, it changed the battlefield. Instead of chasing attention, IBM built deep infrastructure. The kind of systems that don't trend on social media, but quietly decide how the digital world functions. While other companies built products you could touch, IBM built systems you can't escape. For example, IBM created the architecture used in financial institutions. IBM built the backbone for global banking networks. IBM built enterprise systems that run hospitals, airlines, governments, and even the early prototypes of today's AI training pipelines. And here comes the awakening. IBM became powerful not by being visible, but by becoming inevitable. You felt invisible even when your work mattered. IBM lived that reality. A pioneer overshadowed by louder players, even though the world still relies on its systems every minute. Being overlooked doesn't mean being powerless. Some power grows in silence, and IBM weaponized that silence. Then the real twist arrived. In the 2010s, IBM took everything it learned about reasoning, memory, and systems, and created something the world wasn't prepared to understand. Watson. Not as a product, but as a signal. Watson wasn't just an AI beating champions on Jeopardy. It was IBM announcing, quietly and elegantly, "We built intelligence before you existed, and we can still build what comes next." For a moment, the world realized IBM had never left the race. It had been waiting. But the real shock is deeper. IBM's shift wasn't about competing for headlines. It was about embedding itself so deeply into the world's digital bloodstream that every new AI system, even the ones built by its rivals, depends on IBM's infrastructure in some way. And once you understand that, the timeline of AI, the idea of tech giants, and even your assumptions about who controls the future start to fall apart. Because IBM's greatest influence didn't come from its inventions, but from the systems that still quietly run your world. So what do we learn from IBM? The giant that built intelligence vanished from the spotlight and still ended up shaping the world. First lesson: power isn't always loud. Some empires win by grabbing attention. Others win by becoming the foundation everyone needs. IBM chose the second path. And it's the same path that quietly protects your long-term success. Because the world rewards consistency more than noise. You feel pressure to move fast, catch trends, and prove yourself instantly. IBM felt that same pressure in the 90s, watching newer companies get more attention with less substance. But IBM proved that speed is temporary, structure is permanent, and patience, when paired with ownership, becomes a force that outlives hype cycles. Being early doesn't matter unless you stay disciplined. IBM didn't chase every shiny trend. It doubled down on systems that still run the modern world. The same applies to your career, your money, and your goals. You don't need to react to everything. You just need to build something that lasts. You're not falling behind. The world is just loud. Real progress is slow, quiet, and often invisible. Just like IBM, your greatest advantages come from the habits no one sees: patience, structure, and ownership. And when you apply those lessons to today's AI shift, the future stops feeling overwhelming and starts feeling predictable. Today, as AI explodes into every part of life, IBM's story suddenly makes sense again. Because the companies building the loudest AI models, Google, OpenAI, Meta, Amazon, all rely on systems IBM helped define decades earlier. The present is noisy, but the architecture beneath it is still IBM's quiet signature. Every financial transaction, every airline system, every medical database, every early AI training pipeline, all of it stands on the logic IBM created when the rest of the world wasn't even paying attention. And here's the empowering part. You don't need to predict every new trend. You just need to understand the rules that never change. IBM built systems that lasted because it focused on structure, not speed. And that's how you stay ahead when the world feels overwhelming. The future doesn't belong to those who shout the loudest. It belongs to those who understand the system beneath the noise. And if you can see those systems clearly, you won't fear the AI future. You'll navigate it. If you've stayed this long, you already recognize the pattern the world hides. IBM wasn't just a chapter in tech history. It was a warning about how power shifts quietly, invisibly, and far earlier than most people notice. And if this story changed how you see the AI race, imagine what the next episodes will unlock. Every week, we decode another hidden system shaping your money, your choices, and your future. You're not late. You're now aware. And awareness is the beginning of ownership. Subscribe. Because every episode reveals the next rule shaping your world. And next time, the truth hits even harder.